Hello, everyone. Welcome to Healing Collaborative. And we are here today in Omaha, Nebraska with the beautiful Stephanie Watson. And Stephanie, I'm so grateful that you decided to meet with me today over lunch. And I'm so grateful to know you. Have been such a big player in my healing journey. And I'm we met through yoga training and yoga, and I was dealing with chronic neck pain. And you taught me, we did a one-on-one yoga session. You taught me ways to support with my pain and help relieve my pain. And you were the first person I thought of when I thought of meeting with someone for has been on a healing journey, but that's also teaching others and helping others. And you're such a huge player in this community, not only through yoga training at Omaha Integrative Care, where you're the wellness director. So huge role where you wear many hats, and then also teaching. And I'd love to hear more about that today, but teaching at Metropolitan Community College, which is, a college that helps so many people in Omaha, Nebraska. And so I'm so grateful to be here with you today. And also, there's lots I don't know about you. So this is such a cool opportunity that I have to hear more about you. And I want to hear your story and what you'd like to share about what brought you to where you are today, and what stories that you'd like to share, and maybe challenges that you've encountered along your journey of life. So,
Sheryl, thank you. Thank you for that awesome,
yes.
warm welcome. And I am super excited to be here and just so blessed that you have started this podcast and that you invited me to join you. I'm really looking forward to it. So,
Yes. Thank you
yay.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. And so I'd love to hear kind of what has brought you to where you are today, where you are able to teach others and support others through their healing journey. Was there like, some challenges where you felt like you needed to heal, and where did that all start for you?
That's a good question. It kind of has a long
Yeah,
answer
that's
because
okay.
it has there's a lot of history and there's pieces along the way that sort of added up. I would say when I was really little, I was really spiritual as a child. Like I loved to go to church. I felt like I was kind of questioning things in my head and having some just searching, I think, even at a very young age. Now looking back, I didn't know it at the time, but now that I look back, I was like, oh, I was kind of doing some meditative things when I was pretty young. And I liked spiritual community a lot. So I was really involved in that when I was young. But then as I, turned into a teen, and then young adult, I would describe myself as very wild. I really loved excitement and adventure, and I liked to party. And I was just kind of moved away from that. And that was my focus for quite a while, which was really fun until it wasn't fun, until I started
Mm.
feeling really unfulfilled. Um, so in my mid 20s, I lived in Seattle, and a couple things happened sort of at the same time. I was working with someone who said, hey, let's go to UW, University of Washington. They have these meditation classes. Let's just see what it's like. It's just a coworker. And I said, okay, let's do it. So we went and we had these meditation classes, and the name of the person who was like the lead, he wasn't there, but it was like his lineage of meditation was Shri Chimnoy. And I've looked him up since. SRI, and then it's CHIMNOY, I believe. And their style of meditating was all just gazing, like open eyed, looking at like a flower or a candle. And I really liked it. I didn't like fall in love with it, but I was like, this is kind of cool. I like the people a lot. But I walked out and I remember there was this woman and she was, I don't know, I'm going to guess she was like 75 or something, but she told me her age. I don't know how it was so long ago. I remember the conversation. It's like mid 90s when this is going down. And she said, I said, something about meditation, how long you've been doing it, whatever. And when she said her age, I was like, what? Because she looked 25 years younger. I'm not even kidding. And this is before there was Botox
Wow.
and all the stuff you can do. Maybe there was under
Sure.
the carpet, but I didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it. And the vanity in me was like, I want to do that because I want to look
Yeah.
like her, like that. She looked amazing, right? But a lot of it was her spirit, obviously. Now I know it was the light in her and her journey and her commitment to meditation. So that was happening at the same time. I was working 3 jobs. I've always been a worker. I love to work, and I always like doing a bunch of things. I still am, as we'll get into probably.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's just the way I am. But I was waiting tables at a restaurant, and then on some of the weekends, I catered because I make a lot of money. But we'd have these huge trays, like massive, and it'd always be one side of all this very heavy, like plates and drinks and whatever. And my back started hurting a lot. And I was in my mid to late 20s in there. And I thought, this is bull. I'm not going to have a bad back when I'm this young. Like, this is not going to happen. So in my apartment, there was a loaning library and it had a yoga book and you could trade books. It had a yoga book. So I grabbed it and her name was, I think it's Rebecca Carr. I still have it. And I started
Awesome.
just doing the postures. And my back instantly, literally the next day, felt amazing. Like there was a major, major, significant change and difference in my back after doing just some of the postures in it. I wasn't even doing
Wow.
the breathing. I didn't get that yoga was thing. The funny thing is, I had no clue that yoga and meditation had anything to do with each other. I didn't know it
Sure.
that at all. I didn't grow up with the words yoga and meditation. I didn't know anything about it. So I was starting to get into both of them at the same time, but they were really separate, even though we know they're together. They're the union of them and the pathway if you follow the eight limbs of yoga. So it wasn't a major love affair with either at first. I mean, yoga was to feel better. And then also I started getting into like power yoga videos and like just to look good. It was health and wellness and being fit. So I thought of it as fitness. And I was just more meditation was like a curiosity. But then not soon after that, I just hit a real rough patch in my life. Like some really pretty serious stuff started happening. And I was not doing okay. Like I just didn't feel well. And I was really like searching and wanting to find healing and to feel good. I was just sick of that kind of wild party lifestyle I've been living too. So at that point, it started to all come together. And I would have more like you would call maybe, I don't know, like a spiritual awakening kind of a thing started to happen right around when I was about 28 in there, which I know there's a name for that, but every 7 years, 28 is a really auspicious time for spiritual awakenings to happen for people.
Yeah.
So after that, I moved to Los Angeles and I got into a master's program that was a spiritual psychology program, and it just propelled me in a whole awesome freaking direction. And it was everything I needed to do in order to become healthy and well enough to be a yoga teacher and a parent and then to teach. Like all those things had to happen along the way. I was thinking about being a counselor, so did the program. I grew so much, moved back to Omaha, and then I got into yoga and I was like, this is where I want, this is the path I want to go. So
Yeah.
everything moved to the side. My career at that time, and through all those years, when I was waiting tables and doing all that, I had graduated from Lincoln here and I was doing public relations for nonprofits. So I did that for a long time and I loved it. There's lots of events and it filled that excitement thing that I was wanting,
Yeah.
schmoozing people and planning parties and fundraising. And I was good at it. I loved it. But then I just got sick of all of it. It was just time to change. So the answer is long, but it does cover like the pieces and it just took time, and they all built upon each other.
Wow. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh my goodness. So I can actually relate. So I've been, I did a lot of, the the partying and like the excitement, kind of like new adventures and traveling, and
Yeah.
but and then also, doing a lot of the things like checking the boxes of like what I thought I needed to do, and still like felt unfulfilled. And
Yeah.
so it's funny, yeah, you mentioned that, but I can certainly relate to uh the similar journey. So in that regard. But yeah, which is, why I'm here starting a podcast too, a new
Yeah, that's
adventure
cool. That's cool that there's
with
that
you.
parallel there, that
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
see it. I mean, yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to do that and it has to feel a little uncomfortable to want to change it bad enough, and it doesn't mean that you're, necessarily letting go of all the fun, excitement. It might just look different. Like the excitement might just
Yes,
look a little different, right? And maybe it's a little
exactly.
help. Let's hope it's a little healthier, right? I mean, I felt it was really hard at one point, and this came up when I was in that master's program, because it was all geared towards our own healing. I mean, we were digging in hardcore deep. And in fact, I found a lot of the stuff that I worked on just last night because I'm moving and I'm unpacking stuff I haven't looked at for like 25 years. And I pulled out because I graduated from there in 2002. So it's been 20 years almost. And I pulled out some stuff and I was like, whoa, just blown away by all of it, kind of some of the things that I wrote. Because for me, I had a really hard time marrying like two pieces of self, like the spiritual, wanting the healing and wanting to be a teacher, but also I still have that wildness in my nature. It's kind of my personality. And I
Hmm.
just was having such a hard time like having them like meet somewhere in the middle and just blossom into like, this is just me and this is how I approach things. Because when I started yoga training, they was pretty, I had a very traditional training. So it's pretty strict about like, you don't even drink caffeine, like caffeine, no alcohol, nothing that would alter your consciousness in any way. A lot of people didn't eat meat. I mean, it was very, very strict. And part of me loved that, loved the strictness of it. But in other parts of me was like, this isn't necessarily realistic, or it maybe isn't like the best diet for me, for example. Like I do better if I do have some meat, it's better for my nervous system and my digestive system. So it was really hard for me to kind of marry all those pieces of self together. It takes a while, doesn't it? I mean, it's a journey, right? It's never over. I'm not
Yeah.
done with it. Like, I mean, just going like, what's the next thing, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I feel like I'm continuously on this like adventure of, yeah, what is the next, and maybe it's like the next thing I'm like interested in, not necessarily for healing, but then it ends up being a healing adventure, like the next,
yeah,
someone I meet that was unexpected, or so
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
The universe just kind of shows us the right person or path or whatever. And I mean, it is like, of course, being a meditation teacher, being in this moment is really great too, right? What is the next thing? But this is cool too. So, but yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of interesting. I just think of the time period that like the 90s are so like different. The offerings of what is at your fingertips now, especially when you talk about the wellness community, the wellness world, it does, you just can't even imagine how different it is from the 90s, right? It just wasn't like like there just wasn't that much opportunity. I think it's great, but then I also feel like it can be overwhelming for people sometimes too,
Mm,
right?
sure, sure. What do you think is the biggest thing that's worked for you or supported you through some of your challenges, and if you'd like to speak on, maybe what some of those big challenges were, or
Sure.
yeah, what supported you the most?
I think really, really good mentors and teachers.
Mhm.
I've been pretty
Yeah.
fortunate in my life to have really strong and incredible teachers and people that I worked with, bosses that I've worked with, really strong women that were pioneers in the way that they thought and how they taught. That really kind of honored I like to have like the relationship and the connection, but I'm also do really well on my own. So I like a lot of freedom, and that's in everything basically for me in general, like
Me
intimate
too.
relationships as a parent, as a worker, as a friend. I
Yeah.
don't like being strapped down, and I don't like, I've got a lot of privacy too that I like. That's just my stuff, right? And so I've been able to, maybe it's that I attract that or find that relationship in people where that's really honored. So I've just had incredible teachers and mentors, like, and I think that's like a key factor. I think people and community, however you approach it, is just fundamental. It really is. So for me, it's that. And then also, I mean, just the yogic path, just yoga,
Mm,
just having it, the tradition and the path of it has been so helpful. I mean, challenges would probably be some of the things I shared already of just kind of trying to marry those pieces of self, feeling lost, partying way too much. I mean, it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't very healthy, and it was damaging for relationships and my relationship to myself for sure. I
sure.
made a lot of mistakes, some not so healthy choices. And so I think that um, I had to make a pretty conscious shift, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I did it, which is great.
Mm, yeah, that's amazing. And I want to acknowledge you for uh, getting getting where you are today, and you have this way, from my experience and with you, you have this way of creating so much peace in an environment, and freedom that you were like speaking about. And what I experienced, like in your, I go to your stretch and meditate class, which has been impactful for me. But what I would say, like, every time I come out with some like new, almost like revelation or clarity
Mhm.
and peace, and it's been so impactful. And I feel like that honestly lasts for a few days for me after your class. And so
That's great.
you have a, yes, you have a powerful presence. And so like I'm actually curious, what how do you set yourself up to create that experience? Is there anything you do, like daily regimen, or like something that really you feel like helps you the most to actually like come in and create that powerful of an environment for somebody?
Mhm. Well, when I first started getting into yoga, I made a pretty strong commitment to, especially when I was in teacher training. I went to class all the time, and I got up in the morning really early and practiced. And I had two little kids. Well, I got into it when I had my daughter, then I was pregnant, then I had my son soon after. So right in that pretty busy kid zone time.
Well,
And my kid, being a mom, motivated me quite a bit, and I could share about a little bit about that as we go. But so I feel like some sort of practice in the morning or whenever you do a commitment to that propels you forward, and whatever that spiritual practice or whatever it may be. But when I show up to teach, and we talked about this a little bit before we like went live and recorded, everybody's a little different in how they prepare. I like to prepare a little bit. Like I'll have it in my, for a yoga class, I've done it so long. Sometimes I'll write it out still. It feels good. I like it. And I feel like I just want to. But most of the time it's in my head and I'm thinking about it like all day, the day before, kind of off and on, like in the shower for a while. And then I'll think about it and I'm putting it together in my brain, and then I'll come and teach it. But I also
mm,
am a very, and I think really well on my feet. I like to wing things and trust my intuition. And when I say wing it, I don't mean just like, whatever. No, it doesn't matter. It's more of a like
sure.
organic unfolding, because this is who showed up today. And this is maybe how I'm feeling in this moment. So I mix it up with those two things, a little bit of planning and then a little bit of intuitive, organic, like, let's just see what happens type of a deal. I
Mm,
think that some people like structure and are really planned out. I mean, new teachers, that's definitely a nice way to go because you have something in place. Other than that, I just try to check myself, like where am I off balance? What parts of my life need attention? And then I kind of dig in on like parts of life. Like there's the wellness wheel. I work with all these therapists. There's the wellness wheel. So, it's your
Yeah.
emotional wellness, it's your physical health, it's your relationship, and then it's financial and whatever. And so it feels to me like all of them will be kind of flowing. And then there's kind of one that needs a little bit of extra TLC. So I'll just kind of like dig on that and read a bunch of books about it and make a plan about it and focus on that. So that's kind of what my prep daily thing is. It may be real specific to where I'm feeling a little off balance. Where does my energy need to go?
Mm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like you're really listen to yourself and you listen to your body and kind of if you see something that you feel like oh, like this isn't working in this area, let's pay a little more attention to it and
Yeah.
love up on it so that I can become in balance again.
Right. Yeah.
Is there anything, would you say like what there's one thing you do in your like morning routine that like really sets you up and gets you to
Absolutely.
that, yeah, that gets you to that
Ex-
point of like intuition and like trusting
right.
yourself in that regard?
Um, well, I mean, the one thing that I probably think is for me, though there's a few things, but the one thing that really, really changes my entire outlook is exercise. I like absolutely have to exercise pretty much every day, and I love it. And so yoga really isn't part of my exercise routine. Yoga is more of my spiritual practice, but that doesn't mean I might not go to a really flowy kind of class and get some good physical exercise in with it. But I'm talking like I go to dance class, I lift weights, I walk a ton, I might do some yoga asana at home for sure, but I like to lift weights and I like to dance. And I like to come out super sweaty, like I got my ass kicked. Like it helps. If I wasn't working and I didn't have all the other stuff to do, I'd probably do that every day, but I try to do something every day. But like today's a very busy day. I will be lucky if I get just a walk in, and that's fine because I kick some ass the last like 3 days. It'll be fine. I'm a little sore. It's okay. But it changes literally I'm so much more positive when I exercise. So for me, it is a spiritual practice. I'll dance too. I do this dance class. My husband loves to tease me about it. He's like, "Should you go to dance jam again?" I'm like, "Dude, stop." Like, that's my thing. But I cry at the end of it all the time because it's just moves so much energy. I love music. I just love it. And I want, as a teacher and being in my head teaching, I love when you teach me, I don't want to think about it. I just want to show up and just do it. So I love to be taught or trained or whatever, however that looks. That's what I think is a really important part of it's my mental health. I mean, physical and mental health. It's huge for me. Huge.
Yeah, it really is. And you're inspiring me to want to start finding these dance classes
So
because
fun.
it's
So
actually a goal.
fun.
Yeah, it's a goal of mine to get out there and continue, start to do more of those things and social dancing events I don't even know about. So we'll have to get together on
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's like you go to this class, and that's the other thing. I've made friends with all these like really interesting people. I even had there's a student that I taught at Metro like years ago, all online, like when COVID first started. And she came up to me and she's like, "You teach at Metro?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I was in your class." And then all the dots started connecting, right? But it's
Yeah.
just crazy. Yeah. But it's really, really fun. It's just a great way to trick yourself into doing exercise. I mean, at different times I was really into tennis for a while. And it's not that I'm not anymore, but you have to find a partner, and that's just hard with my time frame and stuff. So maybe when I retire, I'll play more or something. When I retire,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to teach yoga till I die. Like at least teach one class a week. That's my plan. But
Yeah.
anywhere I can like have fun and do it is even better. And tennis and
Mm,
dancing for sure are fun. They're just fun.
awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. And um, yeah, I always think about too, like something that works for me might not work for someone else, but like that is a huge,
Absolutely.
that is something, exercise is something that I get to work on a little more in my daily regimen. So,
Yay, sweet.
yes. So I was curious too. I wanted to touch on what are you working on right now, and like what are you
Mhm.
most excited about? Would you like to share kind of what's kind of next for you and your journey and your healing?
Well, let's see. Well, the biggest thing that's going on in my life is I'm moving and I've lived in the same house for 18 years. So it
Mm,
is really interesting process. I've had some like last night was pretty emotional going through all these pictures and all this stuff. And so I did it and then I'm like, I just need a break from it because I got really emotional unexpectedly. I
sure.
just hadn't looked at some of this stuff for like 20 years. So it was really interesting to do that. But I'm doing a huge purge. So my husband and I are our goal, and we're pretty close. We're almost there. We actually sold the house. It'll close in really soon. But our goal is to majorly downsize because our daughter's in college. She moved out. Our son's going to be a senior. And so we're just going to hang out and live for a couple of years. We're going to rent a place and then just kind of see what's next, which I love because, as I said earlier, I like to be that sense of freedom is super important to me. And luckily, he and
Mm-hmm.
I are like, we have that same, like, we both feel that way, which is great. So that's percolating. And
Mm,
I think
I love it.
the reason why that's important too is it's already shifted like a lot of energy. I felt a lot of energy shift immediately when we started to really like we're doing this.
Mm,
So I think what is happening, and I can kind of feel it, is I'm in this like in between zone professionally and just kind of noticing like what's this going to look like for my teaching? How's this going to evolve and change? And I'm really not sure, but I do know here at OIC, we have our 200 program, which you did for yoga teacher training, and then we have a 300. And
yeah.
so we're opening that up. So that's going to be fun. I've been missing teaching because I do so much of the back of the house stuff and leading the team, the whole wellness team that gets really busy. And so I don't teach as much. And I set a goal to teach more. And so I'm on the schedule to teach more there. And then I'm also at Metro and I'm teaching this summer, which I love, 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 love. So I see more teaching in
Super
my future.
good.
That's
Super
definitely
good.
it. Yeah.
Well, you're certainly so great at it and
Thank
so
you.
inspiring and help so many people. And so um,
I
I'm
truly
excited.
love it. I do. I love it. I love working with like teens and young adults are probably who I like working with the most. And that's because kind of like we were sharing, they're just that searching and it's kind of uncomfortable and there's so many choices and it can be a really tough time. And I just feel like I can identify with that so well and hold the space for that. It's just feels
Mm,
really natural and organic to me. So
mm,
I love it.
yeah. Yeah. And it's so important too during those kind of like, it's like a transitionary periods of life. So
Yeah.
that's where I feel like I had the most needed the most like support and
Yeah.
from a mentor. So
Yeah.
which you've been a huge mentor in my life. And so wanted to thank
Thank
you
you.
for
That's
that.
so sweet.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
good. It's nice to hear. Thank you.
Mhm. Um, with the with yoga, as far as is there anything new that you wanted to share with,
Mm.
you know, any like new changes with the yoga community or things that you wanted to, I don't know, speak upon today with
Yeah. I don't know. It's I like to reflect sometimes on like how yoga has evolved because just like everything, you'll have, its root and then it just goes as times change, it goes through some changes in yoga. In Omaha has been really fascinating to watch because I kind of came into it when it was still a little sleepy. There was just maybe, oh, let me think, maybe a handful of small, kind of sleepy studios.
Mhm.
Um, and teachers who've been teaching in town for a long time, they were like grassroots yoga teachers that were kind of under I remember my teacher, Susie Amendola Yoga Now, would teach at her house and back in the day. And she said that something about, she would have threats because people thought it was so like mystical and out there that they just didn't understand it. It's like just so fascinating to
Sure.
think that she went through that. But I like to think about that, how it's just really kind of sleepy. And then it just kind of hit this boom, like this big boom. And there were sprung up a lot of other yoga training programs and yoga studios, and gyms started having more yoga, and it became a big thing. And it became kind of a glam, cool, hip thing with lots of music and flowing and, outdoors, and went through all of that. And it attracted a lot of people, which was great because a lot more people were into yoga then. And now it's going in a whole nother place where that's kind of settled down. It just feels like it's more, we're searching more for the roots and the spiritual meanings. And people want to heal. Like people are suffering. I mean, they always have, but I think we're more transparent about it. And I think that people really are suffering. I think COVID really affected people. I think that
Yeah.
culturally we had a major upheaval. I think we're still in it and it's still there. And there's still a lot of work to do. And yoga is like, for me, it's been a life raft so many times. Like it literally feels like it saved my life in so many ways. So I think always the root and tradition is important, but I also think that you have to change with the times a little bit. And you come into yoga, and this is something else my teacher would always say, you're attracted to it for whatever you're attracted to it for in the moment. Like it may be vanity, it may be suffering, it may be having a great butt in your yoga pants, whatever.
Yeah.
But the
Why
point
not?
is, brought you in and you're here now. And usually, if you keep going and you keep exploring, the layers start to peel off, and you start to get down to like what's really underneath all of this, and true healing
Mm,
happens. Yeah, it's great.
yeah. I
Super
feel like
cool.
I'm still in it. Yeah.
Me too. I totally am. I cry on my mat all the time still. Super cool.
Yeah. Me,
It's
me too.
great.
Me too.
Love it.
Yeah.
So
It's funny because with my journey, how you talk about that, I'm like, oh, that's exactly what happened with me. Like, I just
really,
went to a class and I just wanted to get some exercise and then, or like be fit or like look good and
yeah.
in my body. And then, as like it has progressed, and now it's like, oh, like I might need to address this pain from my car accident and like feel better in my body and help my
Yeah.
suffering and pain. And then some days it's like, oh, I really just need clarity or like, so
Yeah.
yeah, I've experienced everything you just touched on.
That's so awesome.
So
You know what's really cool too, Cheryl, is like I love that we have like this like buffet of different types of classes too, because it depends on where you are. Like if we want our yoga, one of the beautiful gifts of yoga is that it brings us back to that sattvic nature. It's like the Goldilocks zone where you're feeling, feeling pretty good, right? I'm feeling awesome,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yoga brings us to that. So it would be really trite to say that just this one class, one size fits all for that just doesn't make sense to me. You can
Mm-hmm.
adjust your practice within the class that you go to every time to suit your needs, depending on where you are and how you're feeling. But it's really nice, though, to have like options. Like there's a flow class, there's a yin class, there's a restorative class, there's this meditation class with this teacher, so there's some beauty to that. There is an old school yoga you studied with the teacher, one teacher, and they invited you, like if you were going to do training, they invited you to do training. So you don't just sign up for yoga training. You've been going to asana class for hundreds of classes for years and years and years. And then they invite you to study under them. So there is
Wow.
beauty of that
Yeah.
tradition of having one teacher, because you can really dig in when you have a teacher. But I do like that there's options of different types of classes and teachers. I think it's really, really special and can suit our needs and meet us where we are in the moment.
100%. Yeah. I find myself, yeah, going to different ones based on like what I feel I need,
Yeah,
that day, that week or that
I'm
day
like
or
that too. That's what I
yeah.
do too. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is great.
It's so good.
We are so blessed. Omaha has a lot of really gifted, skilled teachers. I
Mm,
mean, we have a really good yoga community. It's really spectacular. So we're pretty lucky.
yeah, we really are. We really are. I'm sure we could talk about like so many different things, and
For
and
sure.
I value all your time today, and but I know that you get to go back to work, and I get to and I get to as well, and so I wanted to kind of wrap this up, and I'm curious I was if you could kind of sum up like one pearl of wisdom that you could share with someone of like something that supported you the most, what would that be?
I think at the risk of sounding super cheesy, but it really is. I mean, it
Yeah.
really boils down to loving yourself. I really think that finding healing and however that looks, whatever that pathway is, to just really have love and respect and compassion for yourself and your own unique journey, because we're all
Mm,
a divine being having a human experience.
yeah.
And using all
Yeah.
that for your learning, all those experiences for your learning. So, I mean, that being a mom, it seems like I go back to that a lot. I'll say, love yourself first. That's the most important thing. Love yourself first.
Yeah.
That's sometimes the hardest thing. It's just so easy to judge ourselves and beat ourselves up. So, I would say just
Hmm.
loving yourself first.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah. It's a constant journey for me as well. And part of that is um part of the yoga training too, of what we've been learning is like compassion for ourselves and others,
yeah,
and
yeah. Yeah,
creating
that's
that
the first, that's a
kindness
himsa.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah. It starts with the himsa, and there's a reason why. I mean, that's
Yeah.
love and compassion for ourselves and others. And that's the first part of the eight limbs. So it
Hmm.
makes sense that they start right there, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Awesome.
This was
Awesome.
so fun. Thank you for
This was
having
so
me. I can't
good.
believe it already is over. It went so fast.
I
That's great.
know. I want to know how can we reach you, and like do you have
Yeah.
what can we do to get in contact with you, and
Okay.
maybe what do you have to, social media, or what you might have
Sure.
to share contact wise.
Right. Okay. I'm at Omaha Integrative Care. So my contact information is on our website. You can find me under Stephanie Watson. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I don't know. It's like Steph Watson 4. And I think Facebook Stephanie. I have a yoga page. So Stephanie Watson Yoga is my yoga page. And then I have an Instagram yoga page as well. So I think they're both Steph Watson
Awesome.
Yoga. Yeah. Yeah, so you can find me there,
Awesome.
but easiest way is just to get on OIC's website. For teaching, the big things that are coming up is teacher training. So, and I do a lot of private one-on-one. So a lot of people like that too. Even if they're working on something, they're healing from injury or something emotional or whatever, or if they just want to kind of just explore yoga. Or I also have teachers who come to me just want to ask questions, dig in, figure things out, almost like a little mentorship. It can look however you want it to look. So that's
Mm,
that's also kind of a nice way to propel our yoga practices forward a little
awesome.
bit, our teaching or whatever that looks like. Yeah,
Yeah, I was so honestly so impressed that when I got my own like personal yoga class from you that one day that I happened to
that's
come,
right. Yeah,
and I was the only one,
yeah.
how much more impact that brought me, because it was so specific to like my needs and what I like was experiencing like in my back, and how tense I was up here. So
Yeah.
do you provide that like online too, or is that all in
Yeah, I could
person
do it
or
online. Yep. I could do it online. I could do it in person. Either way. Yeah.
awesome. So cool. Well, I am so grateful for this time with you and thank you so much for joining today and being part of this collaborative and um, all this time that we've had together. I'm so grateful.
Well, my pleasure, Cheryl. And good luck with this. This is so cool. Best of
Thank
luck.
you.
Thank you.
Yes. Say if I would say like if it can help one person, then we've made a difference and collaborating together and we're all on our healing journeys to
I
support each
agree.
other. So
I agree.
everyone caring for everyone is
That's
my
right.
goal.
That's right.
So all
Absolutely.
right.
That's so awesome. Thank you.
Thank you and hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
I will. You too. Thanks, Cheryl.